I think we should start off by saying that the reason why we're able to talk today is because Condition of Return is one of the projects that SAG-AFTRA has granted a waiver to. So we're I'm very appreciative that they have agreed that, because I think this is it's a really interesting film, actually. It starts very much as one thing before becoming something else. It's almost like a crime drama, and then suddenly it's like you're in the middle of a horror film in a strange way. What was the reaction like reading the script when you suddenly went, hang on a minute, this isn't what I thought it was?
Well, first, I opened the script and it's scene one, and my character within the first page is walking into a church with an AR-15, and I'm like, oh hell no. like,
Yeah.
like I have played every kind of villain, but I am not ready to play a villain that is relevant in the world, because I don't believe villains exist. So in order to play the stereotyped villain, theoretical villain, I should say, I have to actually do them the service of being authentic and being real. And people who do bad things don't think they're villains. They don't even think what they're doing necessarily is bad. They think that it is what they need to do to respond to the environment to which they are subjected. So I was going to have to somehow not judge my character. And within page one, I was already having a hard time with that. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? And so I just said yes to the film before I even finished reading the script. So, because if I have this much resistance on anything, I have to dive deeper into it. And I'm a little bit of like 0 to 1,000 with things. I'm on or off, I'm either fully in or fully out. So I said yes to this project faster than I've ever said yes to any other project. But then as the script went on, it unveils a movie within a movie within a movie. And really, I think the film is about toxic theology under the guise of being a film about mass shootings. And so it lends itself to a greater conversation, one that we're even more uncomfortable with, one that we're even more less likely to touch because it's so controversial. But I'm kind of known for being controversial, so here I am.
But what was it though about Eve? You said you have to sort of like find something within these sort of more villainous roles. What was it about Eve that you connected to?
Honestly, I think my relationship to the characters that I played for 20 plus years in this industry has always been a very simple and single factor, that for most, if not all of my life, I felt incredibly misunderstood. I constantly feel misunderstood. That's present tense. And as a kid, it was so confronting and I felt so ostracized. And now I am ostracized, but but I don't feel the brunt of it as much because I've had to gain some resilience as a result. People don't understand me. Even my own close friends, people in my world, they're like, we love AnnaLynne. She's a little weird, and I think that playing a character like Eve and the many different characters I've played, I always at the baseline, I can find that commonality. I can find that common ground with my characters. And that immediately puts a layer of her vulnerability in the world, right? And then take that insecurity of being misunderstood or not fully validated or fully seen, and then put on top of that blind faith in something where you give up your autonomy. I'm not talking about having faith in a higher power. I absolutely believe in powers beyond myself and the universal consciousness, Christ consciousness, all of these wonderful themes that make my life so much more enriched and so much more meaningful. I'm talking about, you have a brilliant mind with which you can co-create with anything that you believe in. If you hand yourself over to something else, it's very dangerous. Obedience is very dangerous. It's a dangerous thing. It's slavery of the mind. and to just obey a belief system without using common sense, without introducing your own sense of reason or discernment, that's very, very, very toxic. And it unfortunately has infiltrated our world through the pathway of religion. And religion extends beyond what you believe in a spiritual way. Anything you give yourself over to with blind faith, in my opinion, is a religion. You can bow down to the almighty dollar, is what I compare this to. And if you believe and you are willing to, I think of the things that are so divisive in my country right now. You are willing to fully just disavow yourself from people and goodness and the capacity to hold two opposing thoughts in your mind at the same time, because you can only see things one way, and everyone who doesn't see it this way is just wrong and evil and should. There is a major problem here. And so I think that religion as a metaphor is something that this film also conveys in its underbelly. And so there were many reasons why I was like, okay, this film is uncomfortable. And so I need to do it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really admire sort of like throughout your career is that I think a lot of actors kind of get trapped into, they want their character to look immaculate at all times. You know, they're kind of afraid to be seen as anything other than perfections.
Can I look ugly? Is that what you're saying?
No, but what I'm saying, no, not at all. But it's obviously, it's like, I can see another actor playing a character like Eve and being like, okay, but like she needs to look like perfect. And, you know, Eve is very much, she's very barefaced. And then as the story progresses, her appearance tends to warp. And then sort of looking at something like Excision, you know, that wasn't a particularly glamorous look.
No. No, I say that because I fought with the makeup artist so hard. I didn't have my personal makeup artist, Trace Watkins, who thankfully made this all happen. But he understands that when I want to do these roles like this, that we gotta get ugly, we gotta get gritty. And he worked with me on 68 Kill, and we went wild with that film. But the makeup artist I was working on, bless her heart, she was so sweet and so precious. And she's like, I don't like this. You should be pretty. And I was like, no, there's no world where this woman even thinks about putting makeup on her face. And so I would actually go in my trailer and I would I would draw in dark circles under my eyes, because she's not sleeping, she's not eating, everything that can possibly go wrong in a person's life hits Eve Sullivan, one thing after the other. When it rains, it pours. I would be so unable to watch a film like that if the actress decided that she needed to, go to sleep with a perfect lash line. I can't stand that. So I appreciate you bringing it up, but I bring humor to it because it was actually a really relevant topic on this film, particularly because I was fighting with the makeup artist and I'm like, girl, I love you. No, take that off of my face right now.
But it is so oftentimes it's the thing that kind of pulls the viewer out. So that, I think that commitment and, that lack of vanity from yourself, it does really help, build that believability and the viability of this story as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you highlighting it, because I love to disappear into a character. I feel like I've lived so many lives being an actress. I live and die as a character, and then I go on to the next project, and I can't fully experience an entire life as that character if I don't fully embody her in every capacity that I'm able to. And in that regard, she would be a hot mess. Also, half the time I'm in prison, like where am I getting makeup? I guess they actually do. We did learn that they find ways in prison to beautify themselves, which I love women for that. I love that. But I just didn't think that a newbie on the block would know where to find some ink to make a liner, So I was looking a little haggard, but I really, I laugh about a lot of this because the process of making this was so intense. It was so heavy. We talked about all of these things every day. And we had to find moments where we could laugh. We had to find moments where we could bring joy into our day, because unlike any other project I'd ever done, I've never been faced with filming on set and going home and watching the news and the Uvalde school shooting had happened, right? Like I've never been faced with that. Everything I did was outside of the realm of reality for the most part. You know, there's suspense of disbelief, and there's a fantastical element to entertainment when you're playing the quote unquote bad guy. This was not that. This was all too real. We had a lot of tears on set. We had a lot of real emotion, real conversations. So we had to find our light. And I think that's the beauty of the human spirit, especially with stuff like this happening in our world, is the resilience. I only caution against desensitization. And when you see the news media sensationalize mass shootings, what you see as the pendulum swings is a desensitizing of our response mechanisms, because we can't take this level of toxic stress over and over and over again consistently. And for me, talking about news media, the research that I did about why does this happen? Why do we have mass shooters, right? There's an entire funded research project that the National Institute of Justice funded for the DOJ. And they pointed out that predominantly these incidents are public suicide. The shooter does not plan to get out alive. They leave legacy paraphernalia. They are saying, I haven't been seen in life. Maybe now I'll be seen in death. And they're guaranteed that because the news media is going to plaster their name and their face all over everything. And I recently was on 11 News in New York, and I made a I was like, I would like to challenge the journalist community. Why do we need to know their names? Why do we need to see their faces? Tell us the story, that's the news, but give us information that is of value. Don't make this incentivized to future wannabe shooters. And that's what the research was showing, that potential mass shooters are looking to other shooters as inspiration. That's incredibly disturbing. So this film to me was an opportunity, thankfully, to have conversations like with you, where we're broadening the horizon around this. It's been so politicized because there's immense political currency with this topic, and it's interesting. A really good friend of mine who is a journalist, and he always says, when the problem is more beneficial than the solution, you do not see individuals in government making moves to actually change anything. You hear them talk, it's a lot of rhetoric. You don't see a lot of action. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to spark more conversations where action can actually take root.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess sort of in polar opposite to that, you're best known to a lot of people for playing Naomi Clark in 90210. I mean, that's definitely where I first saw you. But then kind of since then, you very much seem to have made a career about, out of choosing characters that are the complete opposite of it. You mentioned earlier, Liza from 68 Kill is kind of, like demon Naomi in many ways. Why is it so important for you to keep changing up and to keep challenging yourself as an actor? Because I think some actors do kind of get stuck doing the same lather, rinse, repeat roles, but you definitely seem to like a challenge.
First of all, I love Demon Naomi. That is the most amazing nickname I've ever been given, and I think I'm going to keep that one forever. But I appreciate the question. It's a really great question. I get bored, Kat. I get bored. I need stimulation. I need so much, and for me to feel that I'm continuing to elevate what I'm doing, and the experience of what it is like to do what was my 9-year-old's dream, to grow up and become an actress. But I think I'm drawn to the bizarre. I'm drawn to the weird, the strange, the obscure. But I'm really, really, in my real life, as people know me, I think everyone's so wonderful in their weirdness. And when I get the opportunity to portray characters that, again, going back to that age-old wound that I've felt my whole life and probably will feel for the rest of my life, because I am a bizarre little human. When I go back to the wound of being misunderstood, I want to give life to those characters so that if there's another little AnnaLynne out there who had a bizarre upbringing and things were never normal, and maybe she doesn't want to be normal because she thinks normal is yuck, which is kind of how I feel. I'm not gonna lie. No judgment to anybody else, just not for me, boo. I love the opportunity to breathe life into a life that, for one, could be played very one note if someone chooses not to build those layers, and to give even the tiniest bit of nuance to where you question whether or not you were right to judge this person on the first go round. So I think that's one of the reasons why I look for the strange, the bizarre, the obscure roles, and I always will. I always will.
And one collaborator that seems to really let you shine is Richard Bates Jr. Are you guys hoping to hook up again in the future?
I knew you were gonna say him. Oh, I love Ricky. Yes, he made me basically sign in blood that I would be in every project he ever does, including most recently where I was literally a voice in a
Yes,
talkie-talkie.
yeah.
I was like, did you really need to name me a Karen? I'm a Karen. He obviously, right now we're both navigating. He's a writer, and he can't really do much without his actors as a director. So with the strike, we're kind of mum's the word right now. But he and I, I'll say I inspired, and he has written an incredible film that I'm obsessed with. And at some point we will make that film. It's made of these vignettes, and I would have a full vignette. And it was really personal. We talked about my childhood trauma, and he said, "Do you want to have your retribution on film?" And I thought, you know, I'm all about compassion and love and forgiveness, but it's the movies. I could have a little retribution on film. I wouldn't mind that at all. And he wrote something profound, and we will make that movie one day together. And I hope it's one day soon. So yes, you can definitely look for more AnnaLynne and Richard Bates Jr. for sure.
Cool. Well, that's very good news. And I guess sort of finally, going back to Condition of Return, why it's out in theaters, it's going to be on digital platforms soon. Why should audiences take a chance with this film?
I would like to invite audiences to take a chance with this film, because ever so often you're given the opportunity with the arts to take your own thoughts and your own feelings, or maybe even your unthought feelings and thoughts, things that you haven't necessarily come to in your mind, and you're challenged by art to open your mind. And that is what I would say would be the invitation of this film. That's what I would be inviting you to embark upon if you were to watch Condition of Return.